Guys, Miles here, Miles More Motivation. I hope you are well. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about something very personal to me, which is growing up without a father. Now, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, okay, this video's maybe not for me, I did grow up with a father, grew up with a mother, I had a great, happy childhood, then stick around, because the video is not so much about growing up without a father, but it's about growing up and having self-doubt. You know, if you've been one of those kind of people that's ever doubted yourself, you've ever had a feeling of uncertainty within yourself, not sure about what to do, not sure if your decision is the right decision to make, then this video is going to be really powerful for you. So obviously the story is pretty clear. I grew up without a father, and that led me to initially see that as a bad thing. You know, my life now is very different. Now I see that as a gift rather than a curse. But growing up, it was challenging. It was challenging for me. It was challenging, especially for my mum. As I became an adolescent, as a teenager, I had kind of internal battles with feeling rejected, with self-doubt. I really struggled with male friendships because, frankly, I've been raised in feminine energy and masculine energy, and macho alpha male types kind of really intimidated me. And I really struggled to kind of find my place in life. You know, if you ever had that where you've just not fitted in? I was like the in-betweeners, you know, remember that series? I love that show. That was me, right? I was an in-betweener. I didn't know where to fit. Am I a cool kid? Am I an uncool kid? I didn't feel like I was either. I felt like I was just in the middle. And so in this video, what I want to share with you is really what growing up without a father taught me, and what I feel that how you can deal with self-doubt. You know, if you're a person that experiences self-doubt, I'm going to give you three really simple, really common sense ways to really tackle and eliminate self-doubt. So make sure you got a notepad to hand, because I'm going to give you some really useful takeaways. The first thing that I did growing up without a father is it taught me to do what I call a gut check. So what this effectively means is, so many people I know in life are looking for outside influences, outside advice, and I think it's great. Like getting mentors, getting support, getting advice, I'm going to talk to you about that in just a minute, has its place. But what most people don't spend enough time doing is checking in with themselves to see what they think. You see, growing up as a teenager, one of my biggest things was I was a bit of a follower. You know, if somebody said, Miles, you should do this, I would do it. Miles, you should do this, I would do it. And I didn't really know who I was. And it wasn't until I started doing this thing called a gut check, which effectively meant I started to write in my phone, or at the time, it was a journal, because we didn't have phones. I think I got my first phone when I was 17, yeah. So, God, I'm just getting a flashback to the Alcatel 300. It was so old. The phone number, you couldn't store the phone numbers in the phone, like you had to put them in this carry case. Anyway, I digress. I used to write down, journal, like my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, what I was thinking. It was really powerful because it really made me start to think about what I thought in the world, what I thought, how I felt, emotions, and then that led me to personal development. So if you don't do that, highly recommend you spend some time just writing down, what are you thinking right now? Like right now in this moment, like, what are you thinking? Like your life moving forward when this whole crazy pandemic ends, if you're watching this video live, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? It's a big question. Like my wife said to me this morning, she said, one of our neighbors, because she knows I'm a coach, she said, oh, I wouldn't do coaching because I'd be scared of the answers. And that's most people's problem. If they don't spend enough time internally kind of processing their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, because it's scary. If you've never done that before, it's scary. But when you do it, you immediately feel better. So first thing I want to suggest is to do a gut check. The next is a little bit of a contradiction, but I will explain, is what I call mind mentors. So one of the key benefits for me of growing up without a father is it led me to the world of personal development. If you ever read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, the premise of the book is that the guy that wrote the book, Robert Kiyosaki, grew up with what he called a poor dad. And what he meant by a poor dad was his family weren't poor, but his dad had a saver mentality. So he was saving money, he was working really hard, and he went to work for someone who was really wealthy financially, worked very little, but had 10 times the amount of income that his poor dad had coming in. And he said through spending time with this person, he learned about real estate and property and public speaking, and he effectively became a multi-millionaire because instead of listening to his dad who told him to save, he followed the advice of his investor mentor, right? So for me, growing up as a teenager, I was listening to Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and Sadhguru and Eckhart Tolle and many, Brendan Burchard and many others. And this led me to have what I call a lot of rich dads, a lot of father figures that were in truth more beneficial. Like on reflection, I've got friends and relatives and colleagues who say, I wish I grew up without a father, because I realized I've become my dad, and they say there's a lot of things about that I wish I didn't have. Like they say there's traits that they have, they wish they didn't have. So that's why I say it's a gift for me, and it's no longer what was initially it's a bit of a curse as a teenager, as a child, to grow up without a father. It's truly been a gift because it meant that I didn't have that fatherly molding. I had to go out and seek the mind mentors to get that myself. And the last thing is what I call self-program. So self-program, what that effectively means is, one of the things that I started doing in probably my early 20s is I started to listen to affirmations. I started to listen to incantations, started to listen to self-hypnosis audios that were filling my mind with positive affirmations of myself. One of the things I found in my mid to late 20s is I had a real lack of self-worth, and that was because I hadn't done enough self-program. If you've seen courses like Neuro-Linguistic Program, which is NLP, familiar with hypnotherapy, not that make you bark like a dog, but in the positive sense of the word, that's some really powerful stuff that you can do to self-program. One of the things I do every single morning, I spend about 20 minutes talking to myself in the mirror, which kind of looks weird when my wife first saw me do that for the first time, and speaking to myself as if I were my own father. Like, you are good enough, you are amazing, you're incredible. And it sounds weird, but when you do it after about 4 or 5 times, it becomes a bit like when you work out the first time, or you go for a run the first time, you're worried people are watching you, it kind of feels weird, but then you go for the second run, the third run, the fourth run, it kind of feels easier, right? So as weird as it sounds, self-programming works. I find myself saying things, I'll do something and I'll be like, this little voice in my head will go, I'm really proud of you for that. Where did that come from, right? It's the self-programming. So if you're a person that has self-doubt, that doesn't feel like you're always confident, self-program is a really powerful thing for you to do. And so the last thing I want to kind of leave you with is an actionable tool that's a real personal one for me, and this for me has been a real game changer. If you're unfamiliar with Louise Hay's work, go and check some of her work out. But one of the things that Louise Hay's work taught me was to do what I call mini you dialogue. So what mini you dialogue effectively means is a bit like the mind programming. I have a picture of me when I was about 4 years old stuck on the mirror. And every day when I shower, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, I will spend probably 30 to 45 seconds having a bit of a micro dialogue with the mini version of me. Because one of the things I've found is, maybe you've heard this before, that the way that I sometimes talk to myself is not always positive. I'm way better than I used to be, but the way that I used to talk to myself was really negative, kind of internally beat myself up. But I'd never do that to a child. We have a child now, I would never do that to Sage. So the question then is, well, if you wouldn't do it to Sage, why would you do it to yourself? So for me, the mini you dialogue symbolically means that you're talking to yourself in what I call your inner child, which means that you're more likely to give yourself the love that you truly deserve. So my suggestion is, get a picture of you from when you're a child, stick it on the mirror, as weird as it sounds, stick it on the mirror, and every day, brushing your teeth, just have a quick chat and just send it some love. Send your little you some love. It will really make you feel good. Anyway, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Like and share it, and I'll see you next time. Miles' Morning Motivation, over and out. Take care.